All right, so today I want to talk about a tweet from 6hexenhammer666 um, that I think is very insightful. So let's read it and let's talk a little bit about it. So he says, any authoritarian system is by default a leftist system since the state or other um, edifice given such authority can at a whim dissolve any private enterprise or contract, and therefore those enterprises and contracts are not private at all. And this is the problem, is that um, I mean, I would say pretty much any authoritarian system is communist, or pretty much one and of communism. Now, again, people point out, what about fascism? Well, or Nazism? Well, the thing to point out too is that that is not a far right system. Again, people, and this is one of the many lies of history too, is that the reason why people associate fascism with far right is that they associate racism with far right. But the reality is that if you look at the racists of history, well, they were almost exclusively on the left. It was the Democrats who supported slavery. It was the Democrats who were against the Civil Rights Act. It was the Democrats who supported pretty much every racist policy, and still to this day, they're the ones that want to repeal the Civil Rights Act now. They're the ones that want to resegregate. So this idea of the only reason, the thing that describes far right is racism, well, no, it really isn't. Nationalism is more of a right wing way of thinking, but um, under the Nazis, there were many aspects of them that were far left. I mean, they're called the National Socialists for a reason. The definition of socialism hasn't changed in the last 100 years. It's still pretty much the same thing. It was just national socialism, not the socialism that the way current leftists would want to do, but it still has remnants of socialism. So again, the idea of people that are actually further to the right is more anarchists, or and by anarchists is again another term that again most people don't know what it means. Anarchist doesn't mean no rules. Anarchists or anarchism simply means no rulers, right? Or no unjust power. Again, so that's something that people, and this is the other thing that Trump is dead wrong on, is he's calling these people in, these Antifa, goons and people in Portland and whatnot. He's calling them anarchists. They're not actually anarchists. They're more or less, revolutionary communists, I guess would be a good way of putting it. Again, so anarchism would be and this is the other thing too. The people have this idea, oh, anarchism could never work. Yeah, of course it could work. I mean, that's the debate that's neither here nor there. But a far right, I guess the difference between the political spectrum is basically how involved do you want the government to be in the economy. On the far left, you want the government to literally run everything, communism, socialism, right? On the far right, you want no government. Again, so this is the problem, that most of the people who you hear accused of being far right are not actually far right. Because I mean, you look at Richard Spencer, who's one of the state's foremost, racists, I'm not sure if he's been in the Klan, but yeah, he's thought of as one of the most prominent actual racists, who I wouldn't necessarily disagree with. He doesn't support Trump. Again, people think, oh, the racists, yeah, they support Trump. No, they really don't. The one thing that the KKK and the Democrats and even BLM agree with to an extent is they want to resegregate society. They want to abolish the Civil Rights Act. So, and this is the problem. One of the many problems to with the left nowadays in BLM is that if you find yourself agreeing with the KKK, and especially on something that's major, I think you went wrong somewhere along the lines, right? So that is the first thing to point out there. But um, yeah, like I say, the to have an authoritarian system, you need a government, and you need an all-powerful, all-knowing government that has no checks and balances. And that is pretty much like he says, by definition, a leftist system. Now, again, if you want to see, oh, that's not how I would, obviously, that's not how most people would want to do things, but that doesn't change the facts. And I would argue that the problem with these systems and with leftism in general is that it always drifts this way, right? Like there is no countries to where, you constantly, are in a state of whims of, centrism to whatever you want to call it. I guess a better way of putting it is that any, country, any organization, any institution that isn't explicitly anti-leftist, they have an explicit, hatred of high taxes, high regulation, this identity politics that the left likes to push these days. If you are not explicitly against that kind of stuff, you will drift towards that kind of stuff, because the simple reason being is that the left has no principles whatsoever, right? Like, they have no principles. Again, they claim to be, oh, we're against racism, but yet we support a prime minister who wore blackface multiple times. We support resegregating society. Um, we support, letting black people into college when their grades are a lot less than a white person or an Asian person, right? Like, again, these are the same people that marched, at the Capitol the other day in D.C. to, on the anniversary of the "I Have a Dream" speech, pretending that they're one and of the same as MLK. No, these people couldn't be much more against MLK if they tried. These are the same people that support lynch mobs. Again, we're against blacks being killed for no reason, but we support destroying cops' lives for no reason. No. Like, either you wait for the evidence to come out, or this is the other problem too, like I've been saying, is that these people have become everything they claim to be against, right? Like, they've become everything they claim to be against. And that's why I so vehemently disagree with him. It's not that I disagree with the concept of Black Lives Matter. No, I disagree with the crazy ideologies that they're pushing, right? Like, the crazed ideologies they're pushing. And that's another way that the left, why they're so successful these days, is that they manipulate speech and language so much that most people don't even realize it's going on, right? Like, it's with Antifa. Antifa means anti-fascist. Therefore, if you're against Antifa, that must mean you're a fascist, right? Like, Black Lives Matter, BLM stands for Black Lives Matter. Therefore, if you're against Black Lives Matter, you're a racist, right? Like, this is what the left does. It doesn't matter what the actions, like in their minds, Antifa could literally be going around rounding up Trump supporters, putting them in gulags. And again, I'm not joking about this, because they've already started killing Trump supporters. Like, they've literally already started killing Trump supporters. So this is no longer hyperbole. If they were going around and putting them in gulags, anybody who spoke up against Antifa, what are you, a fascist now? Again, that's what they would be saying. BLM is already killing people for no reason. They're being violently. They've caused, I think they're into the billions of dollars of damage from all their looting. Again, much of that is blacks that are the victims there. A lot of the businesses they're burning down and stealing from are black owned businesses. A lot of these businesses, black people work at them, and they rely on that income to feed their family. And if their business is destroyed, well, they no longer have a job. Again, so there's nothing that's what they do to manipulate language. But if you point that out, if you point out that, oh, BLM is doing more damage than or doing more harm than good, you're a racist. Like, again, that's how they do it, and that's why they're so successful. Because if you compare the left's ideas with the right's ideas, and by the right I mean an actual, like a Maxime Bernier kind of someone on the right, not like an Andrew Scheer who's basically a 90s liberal, or even Trump to an extent. I mean, I think if you combine the best of Trump with the best of Bernier, you'd have pretty much an ideal politician. Um, like I say, pretty much. Obviously, wouldn't agree with him on everything, but that is the problem. Like, that is the problem, is that if you compare the ideas of the right of the ideas of the left, is that the left gets in by doing this kind of stuff, and the right gets in by actually doing the right thing. At least not as much anymore, which is another reason why the left is so successful, because they force the right to move to the left. And this is the thing too. As far as strategy is involved, the left is way better than the right, like way better than the right. I mean, the difference being is that the right actually has a shred of morals and ethics. The left has no morals and ethics, but the left is way better at strategy, like way better. And it's not that I want it to be that way. I'm just not. I'm someone who's honest and objective when it comes to this kind of stuff. I'm not going to pretend reality isn't reality. So anyway, that's something I wanted to bring up. I think it's a good little topic to bring up. So anyway, if you liked the video, make sure you hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure you follow me on Twitter and BitChute. All those links are in the description, so you can find them all there.